A luxury hotel room, a locked door, a do not disturb sign hanging outside for days. When hotel staff finally forced their way inside, they found a scene so disturbing, so confusing, that investigators would spend years trying to understand what really happened in that room. Because according to the evidence, nobody should have been able to get in, and nobody should have been able to get out. But someone was lying. Los Angeles, California, February 2013, at the center of one of America's most haunting modern mysteries was a 21-year-old Canadian student named Elisa Lam. She was intelligent, creative, and deeply curious about the world. Friends described her as outgoing, funny, and thoughtful. She loved books, photography, and blogging about her travels online. In early 2013, Elisa decided to take a solo trip through the west coast of the United States. It was supposed to be an adventure, a chance to explore new cities before returning home to Vancouver. But her journey would end inside one of the most infamous hotels in American history, a place already surrounded by decades of death, violence, and dark legends. The Cecil Hotel. And what happened inside that building would become one of the internet's most chilling true crime mysteries. The Cecil Hotel opened in downtown Los Angeles in the 1920s. Back then, it was designed as a glamorous destination for travelers and businessmen. But over the decades, the area around the hotel changed dramatically. Crime increased, poverty spread through the neighborhood, the hotel slowly became associated with drug activity, violence, unexplained deaths, and even serial killers. By 2013, the Cecil already carried a terrifying reputation. Some guests reported strange experiences. Others described the hotel as unsettling the moment they walked through the doors. Yet tourists still booked rooms there because it was cheap, historic, and centrally located. Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil on January 26, 2013. At first, everything seemed normal. She visited bookstores, explored the city, posted photos online, and stayed in contact with her family every single day. But then something changed. Her parents stopped hearing from her, and on January 31st, Elisa completely vanished. When Elisa failed to call home, her family immediately became concerned. This was not normal behavior for her. Police began searching the hotel. Officers checked rooms, rooftops, hallways, and common areas. Dogs were brought in to track her scent, but there was no sign of Elisa Lam anywhere. Then investigators discovered something that would shock the world. A surveillance video recorded inside one of the hotel elevators. The footage was grainy and silent, but what it showed would leave millions disturbed. The elevator doors open. Elisa steps inside. At first, she appears nervous. She presses multiple buttons quickly, then moves toward the corner of the elevator as if she's hiding from someone outside. Then she leans forward and peers into the hallway, but nobody is visible. She steps out, waves her arms strangely, makes unusual movements with her hands, then suddenly returns inside. The elevator doors refuse to close. For nearly 4 minutes, Elisa moves in and out of the elevator, looking terrified, confused, almost as if she's communicating with someone nobody else can see. Then she disappears down the hallway. It was the last time Elisa Lam was ever seen alive. The video exploded across the internet. People analyzed every frame. Some believed she was being followed. Others claimed she was under the influence of drugs. Many thought the hotel itself was haunted. The footage became one of the most watched and discussed mystery videos in internet history. But the worst discovery was still waiting. Weeks passed after Elisa vanished. Then hotel guests started complaining. The water pressure was weak. The water tasted strange. Some guests even claimed the water looked dark or smelled bad. Hotel maintenance worker Santiago Lopez was sent to inspect the rooftop water tanks. To reach them, he had to climb to the top of the building and check inside the large metal containers that supplied water to the hotel. When he opened one of the tanks, he found Elisa Lam's body floating inside. The horror of the discovery shocked investigators. Guests at the hotel had unknowingly been using contaminated water for days. But the biggest mystery was this: how did Elisa get inside the water tank? The rooftop doors were supposed to be locked. The tanks were difficult to access, and according to some early reports, the lid of the tank had been closed when her body was discovered. Meaning, if she entered alone, how did the lid close behind her? And if someone else was involved, how did they escape unnoticed? Police now faced a deeply disturbing puzzle. The Cecil Hotel had security cameras throughout the building, yet no footage showed Elisa reaching the roof. No witnesses reported seeing anyone attack her. No clear signs of violence were found on her body. Her clothes, however, were discovered floating separately inside the tank. Investigators interviewed hotel staff and searched through Elisa's personal belongings. They learned that Elisa had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression. According to reports, she had previously struggled with mental health episodes. Toxicology tests showed traces of prescription medication in her system, but not enough to suggest an overdose. Then came another shocking detail. Investigators believed Elisa may not have been taking all of her medication correctly during the trip. For someone with severe bipolar disorder, suddenly stopping medication can sometimes sometimes trigger paranoia, hallucinations, confusion, and erratic behavior. Suddenly, the elevator footage looked different. Maybe Elisa wasn't hiding from another person. Maybe she was hiding from something only she could see. But even if that explained her behavior, it still didn't explain the water tank. How did she physically get inside? One of the biggest controversies in the case involved access to the roof. Early reports claimed the rooftop doors were locked and alarmed. If true, Elisa could not have reached the roof without triggering security systems. This fueled theories of murder and conspiracy. But later, investigators clarified that there were alternate ways to access the rooftop, including fire escapes. Some employees stated that the roof alarm did not always function properly. The water tank itself also became a source of confusion. Initial media reports claimed the tank lid was closed when Elisa was discovered, but later testimony suggested the lid may actually have been open. That detail changed everything, because if the lid was open, Elisa could theoretically have climbed inside herself during a state of confusion or panic. Still, many questions remained unanswered. Why would she climb into a water tank? Why remove her clothes? Why had nobody seen her? And why did the elevator video feel so deeply unsettling? As the story spread online, theories exploded across social media. Some claimed Elisa had been murdered by hotel staff. Others believed a serial killer was involved. Paranormal investigators pointed to the Cecil Hotel's dark history and claimed supernatural forces were responsible. Then things became even stranger. Internet users discovered a bizarre coincidence involving a tuberculosis test called Lam Elisa. The test had been used during a tuberculosis outbreak in Los Angeles around the same time Elisa disappeared. Conspiracy theories immediately spread online. People claimed the case was connected to secret experiments or hidden government operations, but investigators found no evidence supporting any of those ideas. Another theory focused on a Mexican death metal musician named Morbid. Internet users accused him of involvement simply because he once stayed at the Cecil Hotel and created dark music videos. The accusations became so intense that his life was severely damaged, but there was absolutely no evidence connecting him to Elisa's death. The internet had transformed tragedy into obsession, and somewhere beneath the conspiracy theories and viral videos, a real young woman had lost her life. In June 2013, the Los Angeles County coroner released the official ruling. Elisa Lam's death was declared an accidental drowning. The report stated that bipolar disorder was a significant factor. Investigators believed Elisa likely entered the water tank herself during a mental health episode. No evidence of physical assault was found. No evidence of homicide. No evidence of another person being involved. Officially, the mystery was solved. But for many people, the case still felt incomplete because emotionally, the story didn't feel like an accident. The elevator footage was too disturbing. The circumstances were too strange. And the image of a young woman alone on a rooftop in the middle of the night remained haunting. As investigators closed the case, public fascination with the Cecil Hotel only grew stronger. People began looking deeper into the building's history, and what they found was horrifying. Over the years, the Cecil had been linked to suicides, overdoses, violent crimes, and unexplained deaths. Serial killers Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker, and Austrian murderer Jack Unterweger had both reportedly stayed there during different periods. Some guests claimed the hotel felt cursed. Others argued the building simply reflected the desperation and violence surrounding downtown Los Angeles. But after Elisa Lam's death, the Cecil became internationally infamous. Her case transformed the hotel into a symbol of urban mystery and internet obsession. Years later, filmmakers, journalists, podcasters, and true crime investigators would continue revisiting the story, trying to answer one impossible question: what really happened that night? One of the most haunting aspects of the case is that nobody truly knows what Elisa experienced in her final hours. Was she frightened? Disoriented? Running from imagined threats during a psychological episode? Or did something happen inside that hotel that investigators never uncovered? The truth is, there may never be complete certainty because mysteries are not always clean. Real life does not always provide satisfying endings. Sometimes the evidence points in one direction, while human instinct pulls in another, and that tension is exactly why the case still fascinates people more than a decade later.